Today, in number 5 of the series Best Ever Unboxing and Review Video Accessories, I'd like to talk to you about the video field monitor I decided to buy to go with the whole setup. You would have seen the second video was on the camera cage for the GH5, why I chose that. Third was the monitor cage that I hope will fit the monitor, and then there was the one on the video monitor mount that will allow you to mount either one of these two to the camera, which wasn't successful. Watch those videos why. I have jerry rigged it for this video. I've put it on upside down so it fits, doesn't do the functions that I paid for, so we're still working out with the seller for the refund. So in this series I'll just continue to use it upside down for the moment. So here's the video monitor. I had a previous video monitor, and the proper or the more in-depth review will be a shootout between this and my other monitor. I still have to purchase some HDMI cables that will fit, so once I get all the equipment out, unboxed, presented to you, then I can work out what HDMI cables to purchase. And unfortunately at the moment the deliveries from China, eBay, you buy on eBay but they're supplied from China, can be up to 80 to 90 days, 3 months. I never had a beard before I started waiting for eBay deliveries from China. The monitor I got, FeelWorld LUT 7S. 7S7 is the diagonal dimension of the monitor. It's the big monitor. Why monitor the small one? I find that I have something mounted on at the moment. It's been on the tripod. The little flip out screen is only about this big, so I just can basically see my shape in it. Hopeless for focusing. It's only good for composing this shot. So the bigger the screen, the more detail you can see if it's in focus or out of focus. The other reason too is that this particular model is great for outside, and all this is all going towards the cable cam using the GH5 Rowan gimbal. It all ties in, and that's why I've purchased these items to suit. So they call it ultra bright, 2200 nits. Now I don't know if you're old enough, but every government, every organisation seems to get in and changes it. You used to pump up your tyres with PSI, then pascals, kilopascals, atmospheres. It's just, they're in league with the gauge manufacturers, so they have to bring out new ones. The old days used to be lux. Oh yeah, that's 5 lux, that's 20 lux. Okay, it was candle power. So now it's nits. Now, most of that's what school kids get in their hair, but this is another. But what that means is that around 400 odd, 500 is what most of your phones, monitors and all that sort of thing are. So as you know, if you ever try to look at your phone in the bright sunlight, you only see yourself looking at your phone, looking at yourself. So that happens with monitors. Yeah, you can put a sunshade on it. That cuts the direct sunlight, but it doesn't cut the reflection. So we'll be doing, with the shootout, we'll be doing the comparisons outside and the sunshine between the reflection in a Samsung S7 phone, give you a comparison on what you can see with this monitor and the other monitor. But this one at the moment is mainly the unboxing and the review, and the more in-depth review, testing it out in the field and the shootout will be in the shootout video. So, on-camera monitor is what they call it, and here they call it 7-inch 4K daylight viewable field monitor. So you can call them field monitors because they can go out in the field, not powered by 240 or that sort of thing. So video monitor will do. Nice 6 box, packing list, monitor, HDMI cable, tilt arm and manual, thick cardboard, a couple of tree branches there instead of a sheet of paper. Here's your Chinese one. Here's the touchscreen operating instruction. After powering on, short press, touch to choose. Not only is it a touch screen, but on this side if you swipe that way it does something, swipe that way it does something, swipe that way it does something. Oh well. Increase, decrease the volume, increase, decrease the backlight, menu, double click for the open the main menu and the shortcut menu up. Here's the menu, 14 pages, all in English, so that's good, and about a 10-point font rather than the 2 and 3 they seem to like these days. So here's the unboxing. Ta-da! It's a rather big plastic bag. I would have preferred one that was just cut out, and you could just use it as a slip-on cover, you know, dust cover. When it starts to rain, you just pop it on, that sort of thing. So that's a nice big cover. All plastic. The reason why I purchased this model is that, as you hopefully have subscribed and watched the other videos in this series, I'm using a video transmitter, and the idea is that the GH5 sits in the Rowan S gimbal hanging off the cable cam. There's a video transmitter connected to the GH5 so as I can see what you're doing. Then that sends a signal to the receiver, and the receiver plugs in, and I then can operate the remote control and point it where I want. FeelWorld has hundreds of models, and this particular one, LUT 7S. 7 is for the measurement. LUT is it's got built-in LUT tables, and the S is there's different, it's not super, there's different models. The first one I thought would be attractive was the one that only has a camera mount, and he actually has a video receiver mount, so you just pop your mount on there. It's got the battery pins, so instead of having your receiver and the battery on the receiver and the battery on your monitor, you just slip it on and it uses the battery. You think, oh great, great. The problem is it's not a bracket that sits next to the two batteries. It replaces one battery. So with this, there are two battery slots and you can hot swap. So that means, let's just say they last an hour. We'll just say 1 hour. Well, that's 1 hour, that's 2 hours. Okay, so you can swap them around. Now just say the video receiver also lasts an hour. So this can last 2 hours, they can last for 1 hour. If I take one battery right here and one battery off the receiver and fit the receiver, I've got one battery that lasts an hour for one item. So I've got two connected. So instead of lasting an hour, the receiver only lasts half an hour, and this one only lasts half an hour. That was the main reason why I didn't purchase that model. The double battery is a reason why I purchased this model of this series, because you never want battery power to run out, and as you know, batteries always run out at the most inopportune time. So that's got the double battery mount there. It's got the protective shield there. I've got the ring light sitting up there. Let's just see how reflective it is. There it is. Now that's not the sun. That's just El Cheapo LED ring light. So let's pull this back. So now we got 50-50. See if we can get it. There we go. So that's not the sun. It's not a matte cover, which would have been good to stop some of the reflections. So that means that the power of the screen when it's lit must be brighter than the LED ring light. That's what we'll see. To compensate for if it's inside it, because that would use the batteries even more, there's a little light sensor there. If you're outside and the sun's glaring down, it's using up all the voltage, keeping the screen bright. But then if the clouds come over and the brightness drops, that sensor senses that and then drops the brightness. So the brightness will go up and down due to the weather and clouds and all that. So if you're inside, it will be less. You can, like I mentioned before, you can also wipe it up and down. But as you can see, reflections are also a problem. And that's one thing sunshades, sun hoods don't fix. SF970 batteries. To release, push buttons on the side. I always like to get the white marker pen out. I get the tyre pen because everyone's black these days. Everyone's black, black, black. So I put white marks on it so as I can just look over and see where the button is. Now this has got SDI. Some models don't have SDI. Some models just have HDMI. You know, there's varieties of different backs and all that. I don't need SDI. But this model comes with the LUTs, the lookup tables. So you can have your lookup table, because I just purchased for the Panasonic installed that, it will show that up. So instead of being a flat, grey, washed out looking image, you can do your LUT table and it will show up and you can see what you're getting after the LUT rather than just trying to guess what the washed out look. So it's got different LUT table there. So that's what the LUT is. But the LUTs come with these connectors. So the more versatile it is, more things that they do, the higher the price goes up, and certain things are added that you may not want, but that's on that model. That's why it's got the two HDMI, 12 volt in, so you can run it directly from 12 volt, but it also outputs 8.4 volt. Now your cameras and all that normally run on that. So when it's not on the gimbal, and I've got those two large batteries, which you would have seen on the very first video, that can be sitting on top of the GH5 and its little battery, and I can run through an adapter dummy battery in underneath and power it via the large batteries. So a day's shoot will be longer between recharges. So that was another reason why I wanted the double battery pack, double battery back. SD card slot for uploading your own LUTs, that type of thing. One of them tilt bracket. If you had hopefully watched the bracket on the monitor, you will know that that pin doesn't fit in this. The people at FeelWorld have made their own standard. Now, maybe on other monitors, I cannot tell. The center distance of the two holes is different to ARRI. So these don't fit, these will. So you have to have special brackets to suit FeelWorld. You have to have special brackets to fit other things. It's got the two holes. To make it more universal, FeelWorld, if you're listening, just put slots in there. You still have your same pin dimension. It just makes your monitor so much more universal. And what else we got? HDMI in and out, SD card, menu button, function 1, 2 and 3, F1, 2 and 3, touchscreen, headphones. That's all in that. If you watched the previous video, this didn't fit, so I'm just hoping that it will fit the cage. Oh, there she goes. It's not a overabundant protection. You still can drop it. It still will smash and crash your cage. I would say, personally, it's too narrow, too thin. It should come up probably another 5mm, and then that will protect the edges. Yeah, that's disappointing. And with cages, you'll get the seller's FeelWorld cage, They're different models to suit the different types of monitors. So like I said, the one that had the built-in mount, you have to have a different cage. It might be quite possible to just drill and tap holes, and then you can have the sliding bracket yourself. So we'll get the little screws out, the little machine down button heads. And if you watch my other video, ever put in the screw, always put it in, push it down and reverse turn it. Then you hear a click, and that's the actual threads lining up, dropping down to the next gap. And that will stop you from ever cross-threading. Fits on there again. Click. There we go. The thing you have to be careful is that these plastic, as you can hear, not the strongest. Over tighten it, even though they might have a brass insert, it can distort the plastic. So don't be He-Man. I'm just looking around the side. Yeah. It's touching the body here. There's air gaps, underneath. So that is the cage fitted. In the box is their bracket and their HDMI cable. Is useless. See, this is what you don't know. Full-sized HDMI. There's another thing I mentioned on the other videos, and in this one, with the white paint, I put a little dab of white paint on my cables, and if they're white cables, a bit of black texture, and a little white dab on there, so you can see straight away which way they go in, because sometimes they twist on you. So that's a full-size cable, full-size HDMI. See what I mean about it needs the extra aluminium? I think I'll put a rubber seal. But yeah, you heard that go smash. Now if there was a coin there, a rock, anything like that, Allen key would have smashed it. As a design fault with it, it's also got a full-size HDMI. But have a guess what? The other end of the cable isn't. Cable's no good. And like I said on the first video, I have to get it out, see what cables fit, what don't, to order it. That's why the shootout will come. So that's the bend. That's the amount of bend. So hand width. So if it's coming down here, you need a more flexible cable. That's what I'll be ordering. This is the famous arm. This creates more blood. Well, you see more blood after somebody's used this than with a horror movie. It is a hot shoe mount only. Some hot shoe mounts, they have a little tapped hole in there, the quarter, so you can screw it in and fit it on arms and all that. This tapped hole here goes in to the other side, and that's your pivot. And in there is a serrated washer, like a spring washer, but they're wavy, and they're anti-rotation washers. But with their design, they made the tiny little 2.5mm thick thumb nut tapped washer that you have to undo with a pair of pliers, the same diameter as a serrated washer. And if you ever tried a serrated washer, they're flat piece of steel and they press out little veins like a fan. But the hole, if you have a quarter one, it's not quarter, or 6mm, not, there's plenty of slop in it. So when you undo it, the serrated washer goes to one side, but the tiny little threaded nut stays in the middle. So as you tighten it, trying to squash the serrated washer, you're ripping skin from your fingers, hence the blood. So that's its reputation. What they should do is, on that particular one, make it thicker, larger diameter, and counter bore it. So where you have the serrated washer of all the teeth, it comes over and it covers it. And so the whole thing becomes the thumb screw. So that's notorious for that. They've got the 1 mount, 2 mount, 3 mount. There is no tapped hole. The tapped hole in the monitor is supposed to take this thread. But because I fitted the cage screws, they're not tapped on the other end. So you have to offset it, either forward or back. Fits. Nice and stiff. And it is rotating. Can you hear that? No, it's slack in the arm. We'll see how well it fits on here. Oh, look at that. Ah, there we go. See how they come loose? Like I said about the bracket before, the monitor center line is not in the center line of the lens. So now it tilts over there. It doesn't, even though it's got the big spring washer there, this has no washer, no locking washer on it. So it seems to come loose fairly easy. I fitted this upside down, so I'm just trying to compare the two. Still, even with the arm hanging over half, still no improvement. A lot of play. Now, it's fine if you're holding on your hand, but if it's mounted to something that's moving, those washers would be better off with 2 pieces of nylon, and it becomes a drag, so you tighten them up and they drag against each other. Now that's that tight, that's tight. Look at this. Now that's tight there. Very difficult to get your fingers in. These diameters should be larger, put it in. For that mount bracket, we'd have to give it a low score. If you disagree, subscribe and add your comment. 50 out of 100, good idea, but not for my camera. Although there was a stage where they were all going for smaller ones and everyone said they were no good. So far, not so great. Now remember, I purchased this particular monitor because it had the monitor mount, because it had the NATO mount, because it's upside down. Now you put it on if it's also upside down. So I'll reverse the roles. The NATO mount is supposed to stick to this NATO rail, but it doesn't fit. And the quarter with the pin is supposed to fit, but these are different. Spend the big bucks for me, and it doesn't work out, doesn't fit. Like I mentioned in the previous video, they're spring loaded, so they'll fit. So make sure it fit in the right way. Success. I'll just tilt it back to tighten up the finger. Let's just see, put it horizontal. Okay. This rotates here. because like I told you before, if you have a screw, they tighten one way, they loosen the other. If you have something that it's clamping, and just say it leans that way or it leans that way, when it leans that way, it may be loosening. So you go over a rough road, bang, 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 comes loose. It may be tightening over there, you put on that side, going over a rough road, tightens it. Movement in one direction will tighten it, movement in the other unlocks it. This needs to be modified. I will put it back in its same position. Yeah, just pushing that out. Just keeps loosening it as you tighten up. So if you want to use it in the upside down way, you need to get yourself one of those 1/4 3/8. They're like a threaded tapped hole. So it's 3/8 on the outside and only a couple, and they're adapters to fit the screws. Put that in the RE, that should move all right, and then that should fit. Even though it's upside down, even though the NATO rail didn't work, the pin didn't work, that keeps getting loose. It's bolted, the NATO rail, their NATO rails bolted to the bottom. All those are mechanical engineering problems that could be met, and the problem is you can't get to the power terminals. DC in, 12 volt, can't fit. 8.4 out, can't fit. So that's the unit. So not really tilting over. I've got the DJI mount. Now I've had to put in 2 threads because this rotates, but don't get these lever type. They look great for tightening, but every time you want to put them in and pull them out, they drop down and they grab on something, the pin under your quick change tripod mount, and they're just a pain. They should have little magnets in them that they stay up all the time, but they don't. So that's what was causing that. That's the unboxing, as you can see. Nice unit. Let's see how the balance is here. Whoop. Because as I mentioned in the monitor mount video, the actual cylinder clamp and the dovetail NATO clamp, they're all machined out of one block. So loosening one loosens both. Normally you tighten something, then you can over tighten something. This is getting over tightened to closer to over tightened. So to stop that from falling, you need to apply a bit of power. Let's have a look now. No, that's fine. Now it's not on the little hot shoe mount, bending and all that. I haven't switched it on in this video. I haven't connected the cables. In the next video, I'll get the transmitter, then we'll see how that goes. And then the video after that, it'll be on the batteries, battery adapter, and then we'll plug those batteries in. Watch the rest of the series, the previous ones if you just tuned in. Don't forget to subscribe if you've got any questions, and I'll see you in the next video. And as always, thanks for watching.